the attendance for today is going to be a little bit lower than normal. We're aware that it's a holiday. Good Friday is today, but we are intrepidly proceeding because we feel like this topic is important and people can catch it on YouTube or on our website after the fact if they aren't able to join right now. So welcome to Be Strong Families webinar series, Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. If you want to open the chat and say where you're joining from. Yep, and Paul says, Paul, I'm here with Paul, is in the background, and he is handling all the tech for us today. We're very grateful, and he's put a reminder to choose all panelists and attendees. So you just say hi. Hi, Jody from Springfield. Oh, but Jody, make it to all panelists and attendees. But you don't have to do it again, but just for next time. Hi, Myra. Good morning from Oakdale. Good morning in Oakdale. Nice to see you here today. It's 12 o'clock, so we're going to get started. I am delighted to be here with Samantha Peterson, who is a Be Strong Families board member and a multifaceted professional in different capacities with schools like Title I. And what is it's Chief Business, what is that certification you have?
Chief School Business Official. So essentially I deal with the budgets for school districts.
Awesome. But she has, and we encourage you to go to the link that Paul put in the chat about Samantha, and she'll tell you a little bit more about her background in a minute. But I'm delighted to be here with her today. The topic is successful scholarship essay writing. And I just want to say, I think this is like a really, really, really crucial topic always, but especially now, because I just saw an article yesterday in Time magazine, and I put the link in the chat, but we'll do it again because you might not see it, in Time magazine, which said that, you know, applying to college is hard any year for students, but COVID made it nearly impossible. And part of applying to college is successful scholarship essay writing. Part of it is getting recommendations. Part of it is the money, but a big part of it is successful scholarship essay writing, because people need the money to go to school, right? So we are excited to have this topic. And next slide, Paul, just to get through ways to engage. The primary way is through the chat. And you can put anything you want in the chat anytime. And then the second way is if you want to say something or ask a question and it's kind of complicated, too complicated for the chat, just raise your hand and then Paul will unmute you, and you need to unmute yourself and then you'll be able to talk. So, and now when Be Strong Families does anything, we have agreements, and that's in recognition that we co-create this safe space together. So we ask that everyone speak from their own experience, that they treat other people, we all treat each other the way we want to be treated, and that we're just here now for this hour together. So if you agree to these agreements, type I agree in the chat and we will get started. Hi, Amanda. Great. Nice. Great. Thank you, everybody, for being here on this Good Friday. It's cold here in Wadsworth, Illinois. I don't know how it is where you all are. We're looking forward to it heating up over the weekend, having a nice Easter. So Samantha, welcome, and grateful that you're here, and take it away.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, and welcome to everybody who was able to attend today. Kathy is absolutely right. Successful scholarship essay writing is a key element to successfully being awarded a scholarship. It's hard normally to accomplish, but at this time with COVID, it's extremely hard. You can find more out about me via the link to Be Strong Families website, which includes my bio. I am currently the Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations for the West Harvey School District in Illinois, which is a elementary school district. I've previously worked as a Title I director, and kind of just working backwards, I was a math teacher, an English teacher. I've taught middle school, I've taught high school, and I've worked with principals and administrators on school improvement planning and professional development. The reason why I wanted to do this topic today is because, well, one, I have a son who's deciding what to do with his future, and we've been exploring scholarships, so it's very fresh on my mind. But also, I myself, my personal story, I grew up homeless in and out of group homes as a ward of the Court of Illinois under our Department of Children and Family Services protection. And throughout that experience, I really struggled in school, but I was able to get a merit-based scholarship to Roosevelt University here in Chicago. And that really set me off on a path for success. I also have worked with many mentees over the course of my career, one who has a GATE scholarship to boast, and quite a few others who have utilized scholarships in order to be successful in their post-high school careers. So the first question that I wanted to kind of start out with today was just asking everybody who's present to answer this really quick little poll. Do you feel that attending college is still an important goal for children to have in high school? A lot of people are kind of going back and forth these days on this topic, but if you could answer the poll question really quick, that'd be wonderful. Did it pop up, Kathy, for everybody, right?
Popped up for me. I can't answer it, but I can't vote, but it did pop up for me. We have a small group with us today probably because of the holiday, but
very good information though, and it'll be really useful for anybody.
Yeah, and it'll be available online afterwards. And I'm thinking this is one that people are going to consult for years to come.
I would agree.
So do we have results, Paul? So
right.
We're between neutral and strongly agree.
Yeah, and I think even, we have 3 people who strongly agree, and then we know there's not many people here today agree and neutral, but we don't have anyone who said disagree or strongly disagree. So I think that we can all agree that scholarship writing has some degree of importance and relevance, and going to college is really important. So
yeah, I mean, I think like if I were answering the question, where my mind went is it's extremely important for many people, and for some not so much. Like for some, if they want to be in the trades, or if they want to start their own business, or if they're going, I mean, the certificate programs are gaining a lot of steam also, to prepare you for specific careers in like tech or whatever. So I don't think college has to be a goal for everybody, but I think it is an extremely important goal for a lot of people. And when mentees of mine have asked me about it, I think it opens doors. I think getting the degree is a credential, and it kind of says something to potential employers that's like, I did this, I went through this process. It's almost like a rite of passage in a way.
Yeah, I would agree. So, and Paul, you can go to the next slide now. So I think, okay, so yeah, these are some of the reasons, right? We all kind of agree that it's important, but one of the number one reasons is to earn more money. There was a 2019 study from the Department of Labor Statistics, and it showed that about $500 more a week is what college graduates are making in comparison to people with only the high school diploma. So also about half of the unemployment rate is the same for college grads as it is for non-college grads. So it's very important for as far as it goes to making money in the future, to consider college at least as an option. About $1 million more over the course of your lifetime is what the Department of Labor figured that a college graduate would make in comparison to somebody with only a high school diploma. So it's very helpful in making more money, helping you to earn more money. And as Kathy said, it's not just always about, necessarily going into a specific lucrative field. It's also about the skills that you gain that help you to be more successful in general. So earning more money is important. And Paul, you can move to the next slide. Also learning new skills, that kind of segues right into what we were just talking about. So college actually encourages you to learn new things consistently. And in the workplace currently, that's something that is happening at almost every single entity that exists. We are constantly moving forward with technology. We always have to adjust. I mean, look at COVID. And I think about 75% of workers stated in a 2020 Forbes study that their job was consistently requiring them to learn these new topics and new things. So, in college, all the classes that you take, they don't necessarily have to align to your major. And I gave a couple examples here on the slide for you to look at. For instance, if you're really not good at public speaking, you can take a speaking or a speech class. I personally took one. I was not very good at public speaking when I first began, and I've definitely improved. And I still go back to the college experience and use some of those skills when I do present in public. Also, if you're not a really great writer, you can take some additional writing courses, and that can help you in so many ways, not just in alignment with necessarily the career choice that you pick.
Well, and Samantha, I think there's another thing, which is like okay, so I interview kids who are wanting to go to my alma mater, okay? And they all have a clear idea. They all have something to say about what they're going to be when they graduate, what they want to study. But my experience is when you go to college, you get to be exposed to things that you never knew about that are beyond your immediate experience. And you can fall in love with a whole nother field and become something totally different than you thought you were going to become when you go in. So I think that that's also, an advantage. It gives you a few years of experimenting with different possible career trajectories.
That couldn't be any more true. I will tell you from my own personal experience, my favorite two classes were philosophy and sociology. I'm not sure how, as a business manager for school districts, I've used philosophy, but I know I have. It was something I fell in love with, and sociology as well. And those are the kind of, classes that a person can take to spread their wings a little bit and not just discover more about their career goals, but more about themselves. Yeah. So it's really about learning new things. And Paul, we'll move along to the next one. So again, this is right, we're kind of lining right up. It's more than a degree as well. Most universities, community colleges, even private or public, they offer a lot of opportunities outside of the classroom as well. And those opportunities help to really prepare kids for adulthood. Nowadays, it's even more critical. We have some children who spend a majority of their time on some type of screen, whether it be Facebook or their phone or video games, locked kind of away. And we isolate our kids more nowadays. There's a lot of data out there on that. Parents are not as likely to let our kids just, go out till the evening lights come on, to the street lights come on, and then come home whenever they want. We want to know where they are, what they're doing, and even a simple trip to a park that's like less than a mile away can be something that parents will, shelter their children from based just on the world that we're living in. So things are different. And when kids get to college, they really need these outside experiences. There's a lot of different clubs and organizations that will help students or children to develop a network, to develop a community of professionals and connections. And these activities also really help with people's confidence and help them to develop those skills like leadership and teamwork and even management ability.
And I wish I had known this when I was going to college, because I was focused only on the education, because that's what my parents, that's how I was, kind of encouraged and trained. But I've seen after the fact, especially with the way the world is evolving, that the networking and the people that you connect with in college can be lifelong supports for your life journey and your career journey. So,
oh, absolutely.
Like being more focused on how to look for people and both peers and also professors that you're going to want to stay in touch with for longer than college,
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you learn to surround yourself with people that you admire and that you want to be like. And then the more that you do that, the more that you grow. So it's really about growing, not just academically, but growing personally as well. Mm-hmm. And so the next slide, Paul. Also, that just extracurriculars, that's the thing I wanted to kind of mention that starts us on our conversation today about how to write a successful scholarship essay. Extracurriculars are important in the application for college. Schools are going to look to see what what you were interested in, what you spent your time in, how much of your time you spent. And those admission committees are considering that kind of a soft factor. So they're not going to come out there and tell you openly that, all that they're really going to hinge their decision on that. But if you're not participating in any type of outside extracurriculars or activities during high school, that's going to limit your ability to get a scholarship. So students, even before we get to writing the essay, we have to start to plan for that and think about what message we're sending to these committees that we're going to be writing essays to. Are we a social justice fighter? Are we an advocate for other students? Do we care about the career we're moving into and feel we can make a change in that field? Those things that we're passionate about, we have to start to find ways to align our work outside of the classroom in high school with that as well. And then that's going to take you to a more successful admissions committee scholarship application.
And it makes sense because admissions committees are looking to have a diverse student body, right? And they're looking to have not just ethnically, racially, religion, those kinds of things, but gender, but they're looking to have, a community that's multifaceted and multi-talented, right? And they want to populate the extracurricular options they have in college too. So sports teams, music, a lot of that, clubs, clubs that are academic clubs, that's what I'm seeing with the kids that I'm interviewing for my alma mater. Those are the kinds of things like that they're putting on there. And some of them are connected to the school that they go to, like extracurriculars in their high school, but some of them are also, AYSO soccer, or community level participation, community theater, or music,
Yeah, things that show you can work well with others, things that give you leadership opportunity or opportunity to show focus or drive, because schools have to really kind of differentiate you from your test scores. Good test scores are like really just like looking at, a number. There's no personality to that. And there's a lot of kids out there who are going to work hard for those good test scores to get the scholarships. So you have to really set yourself apart in some way. And the extracurriculars can kind of be that key. Paul will move on to the next slide. So I got a quick question, and I think we're going to just type this one in the chat, right, Kathy?
Yep.
So what activities or organizations did you participate in during high school or college?
I'm writing it.
Me too.
I had a job. What else did I do? I was on the swim team for all 4 years. I was in student government. I was an officer in different student government for a lot of it. I was in the theater. I had an outside job. I worked in my junior and senior years, and I was part of a religious youth group, outside of, and I put all that in my application. Amanda says DARE, student council, and Zeno, similar to a sorority. Samantha says she was a math tutor and participated in the FDR Social Justice Society. Paul says he worked on a college paper. Oh, I did that too. I creative writing. I did that too.
I actually worked in a financial aid department as well, which I think lends itself to what I do today.
Yeah. Jody says show choir, cheerleader. I was choir too. I did a church choir, cheerleader, class officer. And Paul says outside of school and various part-time jobs, I was a DJ at a community radio station, including hosting a kids show. Stephen says sports and Scholastic Bowl. While I wasn't actively participating in a wide range of activities, I often wanted to support my peers that did by attending their sporting events, theater productions, debates, etc. You did a bunch of sports, Steve, didn't you? Put your sports in there. You played football. I know you played football because you were a football coach, right? Wrestling? Did you wrestle? Wrestling and football in high school and football in college. Yeah. It also helps. I mean, if you're good at something, if you're really good at something or good at something, that's also a plus for scholarships, right, Samantha? Like
Yeah, well, they're looking for determination, drive, and ambition. And
But
a
I
lot of
think you can
sports
get a sports scholarship from your college. You can get like there are some things that are specifically tailored to
that's
the
right.
specific extracurricular activity that you do.
Yes. Yeah, there's always ones that are specific to what you do, but even overall, organizations as they're, entities as they're giving out these scholarships, they're looking for somebody that is going to be worth the money that they're investing. And so they want to know that that person is a go-getter, driven, ambitious, and oftentimes, whether it's sports or other clubs, that kind of is just a demonstration of somebody's willingness to work harder and do extra. We're not always paid for that, so people work really hard as a volunteer or because they care, and it just demonstrates passion. All right, we'll move on to the next one, Paul. It's the next slide. Well, we kind of have agreed here that while college may not be relevant, for every single person, it is important, and it offers a lot more than just an education. It's important for developing character and other skill sets that make you successful. But one of the issues is the cost. So the average cost of tuition at any four-year institution right now is about $20,000, a little bit over $20,000. And the average cost of attendance, and so that's the difference between attendance and tuition. The cost of attendance is actually more. It's about $5,000 more, around $25,000. And that includes things like room and board, utilities, meal plans for students, transportation, and then their supplies and materials, their books, their paper, their technology that they might need. At a public four-year institution, it's a little bit less, but that's only in-state. In-state, it's about $9,000 for tuition, but out of state, it's still quite up there. It's around $26,000 for tuition out of state, even at a public university or public institution. So
are a lot more. I mean, I know that like
MB.
Ivies are like 80,000 a year or something.
Yes. Anywhere is going to, and when I went to school, I don't want to age myself too much, but couple decades ago to where I was at Roosevelt, the tuition then was $25,000 a year. And I know it's significantly grown at a private university like that. So the costs are constantly skyrocketing as it pertains to college tuition. We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, my alma mater, it's $54,000 a year for tuition.
And what school is that again, Kathy?
Princeton.
Okay, that's awesome. But it's also Ivy League school. And so the cost for that is a little bit higher, but it's really not that much more than.
Yeah, but can I just tell you something? And this is something few people know about Ivies. Like at Princeton, they have need blind admission. And there are some schools that have need blind admission, which means if you can get in, they will make it possible for you to go. So a lot of people think that they can't go to Ivy League schools because they're so expensive, but you don't even have to work to get scholarships at some Ivy League schools.
And that's an amazing nugget for everybody today, because I honestly didn't even know that. And I think that is just an amazing opportunity for.
That's because they're rich. They have big endowments and that's their commitment. So, I think I've tried to tell people that, is like young people that, because I think it's like a lot of times people like decide that they can't do something and they don't have all the facts.
Yeah, so very true. So, well, I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation around that increases actually in the cost. So you can see here, I've given you a little fact, steadily increasing have been the costs of college tuition, and they've actually, student loan debt is one of the biggest issues of the national forefront right now. Student loan debt has been increasing about $12,000 to $40,000. You guys can see that fact there is pretty serious, right? And that's in 2019, according to a survey by the Consumer Finances. So, the question is, and the conversation is around, is rising student debt a deterrent for attending a four-year college? Is that a reason for someone not to want to go because the cost is so high? And so we'll have you answer into the chat for this one.
So we have, it definitely factors in logistics, factors in location, where we're trying to convince my nephew to go to a school in state. And Jody says, I'm sure it is for some, but not all. And Myra says she agrees with Jody. It can be a major deterrent because with interest, it can be outrageous. Yeah. Yes, the debt was one of my main reasons I didn't get my master's degree. I stopped at a bachelor's degree. I decided the heck with it. I'm just going to do it and acquire a lot of debt. And I started going back to graduate school when I was older. So I thought, okay, student loan debt, this is what some people might not know for older students. It's the only thing that you can die and not have to pay back. Your estate doesn't have to pay back your student loans. So my plan was to, you can, it could also make it less, it is for younger people, but it's true for older people as well. You can make the repayment schedule so you pay less in the first years, and then it graduates to lower. So I thought, maybe I'll be dead by the time all my student loan debt comes true.
Well, I think that's funny because I feel the same way. I think we all know we're going to die with that debt, most likely. I've had some of my student loan forgiven from being a teacher, and it's still my payments are outrageous. And I think that, and I did that with merit-based scholarships too. So I do know that it can be a big deterrent nowadays to people. So if you're able to get a scholarship and you're able to reduce your cost, and it compounded with interest, it's going to be a major benefit to you.
And Stephen says, I think it's a deterrent, and I think it needs to be a serious conversation, especially privatized loans. I didn't think about my loans at all when I accepted them. And I think that's true for a lot of people too. Like, you just are concerned with going to college. So you get the money together and you figure I'll worry about it later, but everybody's doing it. And then you get out of college and you have this huge loan debt, and, it's difficult. I mean, the good thing is that they are talking about forgiving more, and more loans. And if you work for a nonprofit, there's also that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you don't think about it. I think you make a really good point that you don't think about it at all when you're young, and you're just like, it's easy. The scholarship essay takes time. Working for the scholarships might take some time. So, they're going to hand you loan money, it's loan money, right? We don't really think about what the future is going to look like after we have to repay that loan money when we're young. It's just not a skill I think a lot of young people are, raised with to contemplate, future debt or burden on them. So oftentimes, no one thinks about it.
And Amanda says, yes, she's dying with mine and thankful for the income-based repayment right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So scholarships are key. And then we can move on, Paul, to the next slide. So we'll start to kind of get into that a little bit. Scholarships, essentially are a form of fellowship, a gift, aid that don't have to be repaid or earned. So when we're talking about these type of scholarships, we're not talking about internships, where you have to complete some amount of work or work somewhere in a specific neighborhood or a specific role for a certain period of time. They're just gifts. They're given to you and you don't have to repay them. Each year, more than $1.7 million in private scholarships is given away. And there's also fellowships that are awarded, more than $7.4 billion in those each year. So lots of different money that's given away by private institutions. And reportedly, the U.S. Department of Education actually provides about $40 billion in scholarships annually. So
I have a question. What's the difference between a fellowship and a scholarship? Because how did it go from 1.7 million to 7.4 billion?
So it's actually, I had to move us so I could see what I was reading. So it's more than $1.7 million in private scholarships and fellowships that are given.
Oh, okay.
And then, and so that's the private scholarships. And then the value of public scholarships are about $7.4 billion. Okay, and those institutions are outside. Yeah, I kind of read that backwards. Those institutions are outside of the Department of Education. So that would be, Princeton, or it could be a sorority, or it could be, maybe a club you're in, or some other type of institution. And then in addition to that, $7.4 billion, $40 billion is given from the US government, from the Department of Education. So there's a lot of money out there for scholarships. And that's every year. Did that answer it?
Yeah, I'm going to look it up, the difference between a scholarship and a fellowship.
Well, my understanding is that the fellowship, and if you, yeah, that'd be great if you looked up the exact definition for us. My understanding of a fellowship is it involves research.
Oh, I see.
So you would be doing some form of research for, as part of the scholarship. And all right, so we'll move on to the next one, Paul. So here's some different types of scholarships that are out there. Academic scholarships, as Kathy mentioned, athletic scholarships. There's lots of scholarships for different special talent. I've actually seen a scholarship for riding a unicycle, which I thought was really interesting, but they're out there for everything. Local organizations have scholarships, like, your local village hall often will have a list of scholarships, regional, national, workforce or workplace scholarships, and then military scholarships, just to name a few. So there's a lot of different merit-based scholarships.
Aren't there also like merit-based scholarships that are for particular types of people? Like somebody sets aside a scholarship fund for people with interest too, like people who want to go into underwater basket weaving, somebody who was an underwater basket weaver and wants, or silversmith, or what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. Like I said, I've seen the unicycle one. I said,
minority, wow. Or like minority scholarships.
Of course.
Too, like,
lots of minority scholarships, lots of scholarships maybe for women. There's scholarships out there you can find for a redhead. So it's very, very, it's just a person wants to, if somebody or an entity wants to support somebody, a scholarship is a great way for them to get a nice tax deduction and kind of support their mission. So they're out there for everybody. We'll move along, Paul. So scholarship essays, that's why we're here, right? And it doesn't matter what type of scholarship it is, you have to submit a well-written essay to your committee members in order to be successful. They get thousands and thousands of scholarship applications every year. So the point is that you have to kind of set yourself out apart in this scholarship essay. It's your chance to give the reader the thought process that you are you're the number one person who deserves this scholarship, and you're going to make the most out of your experience. You got to tell them why they have to help you and what they have to help you with, and how that's going to benefit you and their organization. So oftentimes the essay is actually the only thing that the committee judges are going to look at to help them determine the perfect candidate. So they can narrow down candidates based on a ton of different demographics or qualities that they're looking for, but they're really going to always make their final decision about who's the perfect candidate by reading those essays. And then we'll keep it moving, Paul, to the next one. All right, so everybody knows the basic format. Now it seems like it's too too easy to have to go over, but it's still important because I see kids, at least students, and even adults that I've worked with that are returning to college or going to college later, write essays, and I've supported them in that, and I've seen all kinds of mistakes even around the basics. So it's important to point out, you want to make sure that if they haven't given you a specific length, that it's at least 500 words, the content. You need to have somebody proofread it. You got to make sure you're checking your spelling and your grammar. It should be double spaced. You should have 12-point font. Arial's okay. A couple other fonts are okay, but you don't want to get anything too crazy or too fancy. And then your margins, they're about normal, about 1 to 1.5, all around, top, bottom, side. Important is to indent every paragraph, or just kind of insert a blank line in between your paragraphs. And you don't want it to bleed together, because that's really hard for somebody when they're reading through a lot of these. It's hard on their eyes. And so you want to make it more friendly for your audience, the committee member or whoever's judging. And so for longer essays, you should also include your name on the top left along with the page number. And those are things that kind of help your application or your essay to stand out a little bit as far as the basics are concerned. Paul, will keep it moving. So we also have, the basics aren't going to get you there, but standing out is what is. And so in order for you to do that, when they're receiving thousands and thousands of application or essays and applications, is for you to follow these little tips that I'm going to give you. The first is to conduct research on the institution that you are trying to write the essay for. And we'll get more into each topic in just a moment. You need to choose your topic wisely if you're not given a prompt. So you want to make sure that you're choosing your topic in a way where it's going to help you to stand out. If you are given a prompt, you should research that too, because you want to sound like you're an expert or be as knowledgeable as you can be on what question you're answering. And then outlining your essay. Also using the challenges. This is key. Using the challenges that you have faced or the things that you have overcome as a strength in your essay. I see people try to hide kind of their challenges a little bit too much when it pertains to essay writing for scholarships, and lean on their strengths more than they really should, because remember, you want to give them a reason as well to give you the scholarship. And Paul, move along to the next one. Okay, so conducting research, dig into this one a little bit deeper. It's important to research the institute that you're applying for. You got to go to their website. You should read their mission, their vision, their objectives, and their goals, because what you need to do is connect your values to theirs. And you need to be able to explain your passion in a way that, there's a little spelling error there, in a way that complements their objectives, right? And you also want to incorporate their mission statement into the essay content, because you got to remember the organization is focused on their mission and vision. And so you need to align your mission and your vision to theirs. All right, we'll move forward, Paul. All right, common essay prompts. So I mentioned that a lot of the times the essay prompts are given to you. Sometimes you have to choose from a list of prompts, and then sometimes you have to choose your own prompt. Here's just a little list of some of the more common essay prompts that are out there for scholarships. How will the scholarship help you? Have you contributed to your community? Or how have you contributed to your community? It's just as simple as tell us about yourself. And oftentimes you'll see this one. Tell us about a time you failed and what you learned from it. What are your goals? And what impact has sports had on your life? Or what impact has some type of participation had on your life? Why do you deserve the scholarship? And then tell me about a time when you had a belief or idea challenged. Also, how are you unique? Or why do you want to pursue this degree? And so you'll notice there's a kind of a common thread here amongst all of these essay prompts. And that is growth, really. What challenges, how are you going to, what are you bringing to the table is essentially kind of the common theme in here. What challenges have you faced in order to, and overcome in order to grow? And how are your goals in alignment with what we're doing here in this organization? You can kind of see that theme in there if you look closely. All right, we'll move on, Paul. And here's an example of a very common prompt that you might see as far as scholarship essay writing goes. And that would be, what makes a great leader, right? It's very, very, it sounds very easy to answer, but you never want to give the easy answer when it comes to the scholarship essay. What you want to do is research right away. Research what attributes and qualities are necessary to be a leader. So you have a context for when you're writing your essay, and then align those responses that you're going to have to, again, that institution, mission, and the values. You want to make sure that you're creating the strong outline before you start the writing process. And then you want to make sure that you add something unique, a unique factor about it, about the topic that expresses kind of how you're different and how you stand out. We want to mention how you can be a leader, and you want to highlight that you have leadership abilities and what they are, and think about how your academic career goals can be aligned to this topic. So this is just an example of how to approach a common prompt, but we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. Paul, move on to the next one for me, please. Thank you. All right, so outlining, it's not much different than high school, right? So it's pretty common. It's not much different than in a writing class. We always want to start with an outline. So it's very critical that you follow an outline format, because you want it to be a well-organized essay. You can't just, kind of be rambling, and you cannot go off on a tangent or off on a different topic that doesn't align to the question, because right away that's going to be a red flag for move to the next essay. The outline should really cover all the points that you want to make sure that you get into the essay. Like you want to align the mission, you want to align your vision, you want to talk about your skills or your career goals. You want to make sure that the outline has all of those points in there. And that's what outlining does in addition to helping you organize things. It helps you to ensure all the important things that you wanted to cover were hit. And then there should be a really nice, smooth transition between paragraphs. And that's a way that outlining helps in a regular writing class, and also a way that it's very helpful when it pertains to scholarship essays. And we'll move on. So we know the outline is key when you're writing, and the same way I was saying in high school, it's very similar. There's the introduction. So some of the tips for introduction are just to make sure that you've chosen a topic that, discusses how you've overcome challenges. And that, again, is like really important because you're trying to send the message to the who's awarding the scholarship that you can meet a challenge, face it, and grow. You don't want to hide your challenges. And you don't want to show that all you can do is grow. You have to show that you've come across things that have been challenging, and that you are able to grow from those experiences.
So, Samantha, I think as you're talking, I'm thinking this is marketing, basically, that you're marketing yourself. And one of your goals needs to be that you want your essay to be memorable. Like you want the person that's reading it to not want to put it down. So I think another thing is to kind of think about it as a story, so that it's not just demonstrating that you can write, or demonstrating that that's one bar, demonstrating that you can write, demonstrating that you can, but how do you make it so that the person who's reading it feels you and also remembers you after they read it, Yeah.
And it's similar to an interview in your career later in life. You're going to market yourself, whether you're making a resume, filling out an application for a job, or attending an interview. It's almost the same thing. You're going to align your answers to the vision and mission of the organization. You're going to show how you can face challenges, right? And you're going to want to stand out. You're going to want to stand out, like you said, Kathy, and give them a reason to hire you, or like you said, a reason to keep reading the essay. So it's really key to stand out. And so, all right, we'll go to the next one, Paul. I keep trying to do it myself, but okay. So body of your paragraph, right? Or your body and your paragraphs that are within that body. That's your next step. And you notice I keep saying overcome obstacles. Make sure you explain how you've overcome obstacles, or find a way to explain that in almost every scholarship essay that you write. So the main essence of the entire essay is really here in the body of it, right? Within your paragraphs. And that's how the committee is going to get to know you. And you cannot be afraid of being yourself. You have to be willing to be yourself. And you definitely don't want to, even if you don't believe, or, your beliefs or your perspectives are a little bit different than the average person. You don't want to hide those elements of yourself. A winning essay is one, like we were talking about, Kathy, that stands out and makes you drawn to the person. So you definitely want to have those qualities within the body of your paragraphs, your body and your paragraphs. And so your educational goals have to be shared, your career goals have to be shared, and the reason why you're picking your specific degree should be shared within the body of your paragraphs. And what are you going to do with the degree once you have it? That's important as well. And how does the scholarship help you to fulfill those goals as well? So you want to make sure that you're discussing not just the career you've picked and your reason for picking, that particular career, but how will that scholarship help you to meet those goals and to be successful in that career? Next one, Paul. All right. So, and their conclusion. So it's always introduction, body and conclusion. And the ending should definitely not be abrupt. You do not want to just end it and say, pick me, goodbye, nice to meet you. You want to make sure that it flows. So you want to link the entire essay together. And this is where the outline is really helpful. Oftentimes it's really wise to restate how the scholarship is going to benefit you, like we just said, not just in the body, but also in the conclusion. And the trick is to sound confident. Confirm within the conclusion, definitely take the time to confirm how serious you are about those goals and how you're going to use this money for good. Definitely align it to the organization's vision and mission and how that money is going to improve their vision and their mission as well. A good example would be any STEM career field, right? You could definitely say, I'm going into technology. You're giving me this money and I'm going to do, ABC to be successful. And this is how it will help me. But then I'm also going to encourage more students to, go to school for technology or STEM career paths. So something, along that lines is what I'm getting at. You want to make sure that you link it to their vision and mission and how their money spent is not just going to affect your future, but it's also going to help them meet their vision and mission on a larger scale. And then again, that's what I really mean by making sure that you create a positive impact in your field and that you express that in your conclusion. All right, Paul, next one. So the do's and the don'ts, we're coming around, kind of to the meat of it. So what we've gone over is you do definitely want to know your audience. You want to know about the institution and all those things. And you definitely want to make it personal. But you see on the bottom, it says, don't get sappy. So Kathy, what do you think I mean by that when I say do make it personal, but don't get sappy?
In journalism, we have this thing called purple. Like it's when it's overly emotional or it's too much detail, or you're trying to it's a kind of thing. Oversharing is a sappy, and so is using a lot of cliches or using truisms that everybody knows that they've heard 1,000 times before. Is that what you're thinking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because you want to make it, like you said, you want to stand out. You want to talk about the obstacles you face, what you've overcome, so that they have a reason. You want to give them a reason to want to support you, right? And show them that you can take advantage of that reason. But you definitely don't want to overshare. It's not a big sob story. You're not trying to
your diary.
Yeah.
It's not your diary. And you don't want to make it can't be too hard sell, because if it's too hard sell, it's going to feel fake. And if it's too much of a sad story, it's going to feel manipulative, so it's kind of like, think about how you would be receiving the story, or how you would be if someone were telling it. I mean, that's the kind of thing also, is pretend you're the person reading it,
it's not like an "oh, woe is me" thing, because if you do that, they're going to look at it and say, oh, well, you're not the only one.
You're a whiner.
1,000 people have issues, that have put applications in front of us. 1,000 people have different issues, but they want to know, they want to know your issue, but it's all the focus is on how are you overcoming it? How are you turning it into a positive?
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, this is how I've mentored people as well. They're thinking about investing in you, right? They're going to put money into you, and their money, their investment pays off if you are successful. So you have to sound like you're going to be successful. And people who dwell on their own, navels, who can't see outside themselves, don't read as being someone who's going to make a positive difference in the world or work well with other people. You seem too self-centered, too self-absorbed, too much, selfish, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think you have to think about you're asking them to invest their money in your success. So how are you going to show them that you're going to be successful?
Absolutely. And I've seen that, that's why I put that on there as a don't. I've seen that be a huge deterrent for students when it came to successfully receiving scholarships, was just that whole thing where, I went too deep into the sad part of it. And I didn't focus on why I'm a benefit for, how I will be successful when I receive these scholarship funds and then benefit the organization's mission or vision further. But I've also seen it on the other side. So it's a thin line. I will give you a personal example. One of my first mentees that I helped to write a scholarship, when I first read a scholarship, I said, wow, you seem like you have the most amazing, background, and everything you've done has been, hard work, perfection, no, all of these things. And he said to me, no. I actually have a really tragic story. My father went to jail when I was really young for murder and selling drugs. I grew up very, very poor, in a very poor community with a single mother. My family was actually known for selling all the drugs in the neighborhood, and consistently tried to convince me that this would be a way of life for me, and that he decided that he had fought through all of these challenges and determined that his goal was to change the lives of other kids by being an example of how to say no to those things and how to instead choose other more positive outlets, right, for yourself to be successful. And so when he told me this, I said, well, how come that's not in the essay? And he said, well, I thought I had to hide that.
Mhm.
I thought I had to, hide all those problems that I had, and the drug issues in my family and the jail and all that. I thought I needed to just show, all my good side. And so it's really about a balance of making it personal and giving them a reason to support you, but not turning it into a, oh, woe is me sob story. And instead showing them again that core that we keep going back to, which is how have I overcome these obstacles, and how will I use this money to overcome these obstacles? And so think outside the box. And then also another trick to try is record your answers out loud. See how they sound when you play them back to yourself before you.
And a lot of times I think it's not the what you say, but also how you say it.
Yes.
So you can say the same things and they can sound sappy, or they can sound, not sappy,
Oh yeah. And that's where like recording it can help.
And yeah, how you frame it, how you tell the story. It's like, and the thing about the next one you're going to get to, the don't miss the deadlines. I was going to say, so don't get sappy is like, don't make it seem like you're just completely self-absorbed. And then don't miss deadlines is like, they know in order to be successful, you have to be on your game. You have to be following the rules, so it's to me, and I think this is an employer when I'm reading resumes and stuff, missing deadlines is one thing, but also like misspellings, grammatical errors, not paying attention to the rules, those are all things that are like red flags, like this person's not going to be successful because they don't know how to follow the rules.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, like, we think about something like baking, if you're judging a baking contest, and everybody's made the same thing, you've got to taste this brownie, and then you got to taste this brownie, and you got to taste that brownie. And first off, if it tastes not like a brownie, it's getting thrown away immediately. It's got to go. And you're not even going to take time to judge it any deeper. You are looking for something to make it pop, and make it kind of stick out as being better than the rest. But you also have to have those fundamentals there, which is don't miss the deadlines. Make sure that make yourself a calendar. That's always very helpful for students and parents. You can do that for your students too. Make a calendar of what scholarships are and what deadlines there are, so that you can stick to them. Very important. And then I think, is that all we have? Paul, let's see, what else did I have today? Just questions. So I guess now we'll open up in case there's any questions that you might have, or specific information you wanted to know about scholarships or tips.
So, I mean, I got a lot of my ideas and questions in there. I guess in the story that you talked about, when he rewrote his essay, do you remember how he included the detail about his family? Do you remember how he did that?
Yes, very much so. It actually affects his life still to this day, just a couple paragraphs that he wrote in this essay. So he coined his own little term, which wasn't a cliche, because it was, his own little slogan, which was, I decided not to be a dope dealer. Instead, I decided to be a hope dealer. And he wrote in the essay about how this experience was a challenge to him, and how it would have been easier for him, easy for him to kind of like want to be cool and fit in and go down this path. But instead he used it as an opportunity or a vehicle for him to speak his message to other students about why avoiding that and choosing instead to uplift the people around you and be a positive example was so key and so important. And now he's actually, he graduated from Morehouse as senior class president. So he received a Gates scholarship for that. And he's working on his PhD currently. He's in charge of college and career for Chicago Public Schools, a couple of the schools, and he owns is the head of a 501c3 called Hope Dealers. Nice. And they go out there and mentor kids and poor neighborhoods and low-income minorities and kind of give them, push them towards historical Black colleges or four-year universities. As an actual real live, real option for them, because a lot of these kids don't think it's something that they can obtain.
I love that. And I also think that we didn't talk about that, but that headline, if it's the first sentence or if it's the title of your essay, coming up with a snappy title is probably also helpful, like an intriguing title, a different title,
Absolutely. I think some type of hook, but that doesn't seem contrived. Like you said, it's not like, two birds in the hand is worth one in the bush. It's not like an old cliche where you just throw out something that everybody's heard a million times. It has to be unique and something that sets you apart. And it's very easy to do that with the title or with some type of slogan of your own or quote of your own.
It also sounds like just self-awareness and reflection.
Yes.
Are key things like that it's key opportunities in the scholarship writing process. I'm just thinking in applying to college and even the application process and writing the essays for the applications, which it seems like the scholarship application and the essays you may have to write for your college applications could go hand in hand. Like you could use, there are many times the same prompts, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And even later in your career, because when I'm interviewing people to hire them, I'm looking for almost the exact same thing that these scholarships are looking for. I'm looking for an application that has all the fundamentals. Once I have all those applications with the fundamentals, I'm looking for people that either in writing in those questions that we often ask in applications or even in a personal interview, I'm looking for somebody that's demonstrating exactly that.
And I think so. I guess what I'm getting at is I think that ability to be able to know who you are and know what your story is, and to be able to put your challenges and the things you've overcome in the context, of success and what you plan to do. That whole exercise, if you will, is very, very important as part of personal growth. So that's why I think it's really important for parents and others who are mentoring young kids, not to encourage them just to, dash it off or just to get but really encourage them to really be in it, to put as much of themselves in it and to be as reflective as possible, because it's that kind of knowledge, self-knowledge is really just very important for mental health and strength and,
Yeah, well, it's about reaching your fullest potential and the ability to show and demonstrate that you're capable of continual growth until you reach your fullest potential.
That's really wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you for being here. And let's go to the next slide, Paul. And just remind people, we have one more webinar on Monday that's in our traditional format, which is with Maria Galvin. And she's going to introduce us to the Child Welfare Information Gateway, some tools and resources to promote best practice. And then on Tuesday, I'm very excited about this. We are launching our springtime Journey to Vitality campaign. And what we're basically doing is trying to commit, among our community, both staff and board and you all in the larger Be Strong Families community of practice, we're just inviting everyone to be part of a group to support each other with living our best lives and with holistic vitality. It's free. There's nothing. I mean, what we get out of it as an organization and as individuals is kind of the same. We uplift ourselves and we uplift others, and we really become reach what you were saying and become our potential, reach our fullest potential as human beings. So on Monday, I'm going to just kind of go through how the campaign will work and just orientation. Anybody can join at any time, and you can come to as many or as few of the sessions as you want. But the way we're thinking about it is that they're 30-minute sessions for the most part. The space is held by Be Strong Family staff. So on Tuesday, we have a Journey to Vitality assessment that we encourage people to do, so that then after the 8 weeks later, you can do it again and see what your progress was. And then Alexandra will be holding space on Thursday for a half an hour on self-talk. How do we talk to ourselves? And then every Friday, we're going to have a taste of Vitality Cafe that aligns to whatever the theme was for the week. So we encourage you to join us and use this midday check-in time as accountability, as support, as just a little bit of extra encouragement or knowledge. They're not going to be, we're calling them micro trainings. Next slide, Paul. Not full trainings. So starts next week. It's 8 weeks. You can join at any time. You can come as often as you want. And 1 week we'll start with we're starting with the just general orientation. Then we're going to go through each domain will be a week. And then we're going to have a week on holistic vitality. So that's how we get to 8. And the next slide, Paul. I already said most of this, but we're just looking, it's a community project to boost wellness as COVID dissipates and as the spring takes root in places. Just how do we clear out the cobwebs and get ourselves feeling great? Next slide, please. Wear your mask. We have great ones at Be Strong Families. And then there are also going to be incentives for participation. So we're going to give you Journey to Vitality swag depending on how many webinars you come to. So so you're going to be able to get some masks and some mugs and all of that kind of stuff.
Those masks are so comfortable, Kathy. I love them. They're my favorite.
Thank you. They're pretty too. So Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And we appreciate you. And we look forward to you joining us. Thanks, Samantha, one more time. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, thanks a lot. We're going to be closing it out. Thanks, Samantha. And we're going to have the slides available, if not today, on Monday on our website, bestrongfamily.org. And you can see the results. Thanks, everybody, for voting for